Alright, let's talk about Zani, the new Spectro Hypercarry added to Wuthering Waves. And in this video, we're going to talk about her team, kit, and rotation so that way you know everything that you need to know before you row. Starting with her kit, but her kit is quite complicated but simple to use. So, I'm going to break it down so that way you can simply execute her kit while doing your rotation. So, just know that most of the stuff that I leave out are simply buffs to make her attack stronger. So first, let's go ahead and take a look at her forte bar. You're mainly trying to fill this up so that way you can activate her enhanced skill, which massively increases her damage. The first way that you can fill her bar is by doing her basic attack 4 combo. This is one of the slowest ways to do it because right before you cast basic attack 4, you do need to wait a few seconds so that way you can make sure that you fill up the bar. That is why this one is not really recommended unless you're out in the overworld farming echoes. The next way to fill up her bar is by intro in. Once you do that, you fill up her bar halfway. The next way is if you cast her skill, you get a 4 for the bar fill. And if you immediately cast a basic attack after that, you get another 4, since this automatically skips you to the basic attack 3. Which brings us to her bottom second forte bar, and the only way to really fill this up is through her support character that can cast Spectro Frazzle. And her best support is Phoebe, to where if you enter a Spectro Frazzle form, after you cast a Resonance Liberation and do 2 heavy attacks, this automatically fills the bar. Besides her Spectro Frazzle support character, the only way to fill this bar is by her casting an enhanced skill. So now let's go ahead and talk about her skill, to where you can temporarily stun the enemy if you cast a skill once they're attacking you, and this is the same for the enhanced skill. If you do this successfully, it massively takes away from the enemy's weakness bar, and it makes Zani take less incoming damage. And just to go over it one more time, when you cast a skill, it will slightly increase her forte bar, and once that forte bar is filled, you can cast that enhanced skill, massively increasing her damage. Which brings us to her Resonance Liberation. This is where that bottom second forte bar comes in. Once it's full, you're able to cast a Resonance Liberation, and you're able to enter her Super Saiyan state, to where she does massive damage by simply casting basic attacks. Once she's in this form, she's going to get a third forte bar, and you can keep casting basic attacks until it runs out. And once it's depleted, or if you reach 8 seconds, you're able to cast another Resonance Liberation, doing some more massive damage, which is indicated by the light up of the Resonance Liberation button. But while you're in this form, you can cast a skill button, allowing you to pair your enemy's attacks to instantly go to basic attack 3, stunning the enemy and doing more damage to it as well. So if you're able to time that, you can squeeze out a bit more damage, but the easiest way is just to simply cast basic attacks while in the form. So now let's go ahead and talk about her build. You mainly want to focus on crit rate and crit damage, but since her best echo set is Eternal Radiance, you're going to get 20% crit rate through that set. Also, if you use Shorekeeper in the team, that's another 12.5% crit rate, so she's going to already get 32.5% crit rate on top of any stats that you provide her. So just make sure that your crit rate doesn't overcap. Next, we have energy recharge. You want to get somewhere between 120 to 130% energy recharge, and this depends on the team. And lastly, the other stat that you're looking for is heavy attack damage, since that's where most of her damage comes from. Which brings us to her echoes, and as I mentioned earlier, you want to go with the Internal Radiance set. This is due to the fact that it gives crit rate and massively increases your spectral damage. But when it comes to the boss echo that you want to use, you actually want to use Capitanus, a 3-cost echo. This is due to the fact that it increases spectral damage and heavy attack damage, and it has a very quick animation. But you're still going to want to have a 4-cost echo since it gives crit rate or crit damage. But remember, you want to make sure that you don't over crit, so you could find yourself using a crit damage echo. For the 3-cost echoes, you're going to want to go with spectral damage, but you could consider attack if you don't have any better pieces. But one thing to note with this patch is that we're now able to change the main stat of some of our echoes, as long as you use the special material, and everyone got at least 8 for just logging in. And for your 1-cost echoes, you're going to want to go with attack. But let's go ahead and talk about the support character. Due to the fact that Zani does so much damage, you might want to consider having your support character use the Moonlit set to further increase Zani's damage, with the boss echo of course being the Impermanence Heron. So now let's go ahead and take a look at her weapons, and of course her signature weapon is the strongest and best one for her, due to the fact that it ignores the target's defense and it increases the Spectral Frazzle damage. But she does have a few other options, but they are limited 5-star weapons, with the first one being Rocha's signature weapon due to the fact that it greatly increases heavy attack damage. Next we have Zhang Liao's signature weapon, which increases spectral damage and it also increases liberation damage. Which brings us to the standard 5-star weapon, to where it's mainly just helping you with energy recharge. When it comes to 4-star weapons, you have Legend of the Drunken Hero, due to the fact that she is applying negative defects to the enemy. And then after that, you have the Battle Pass weapon Stoner, to where it does give crit rate and increase increases the resonance liberation. So now let's go ahead and talk about her skills. You mainly want to focus on leveling up her Forte circuit, then you want to level up her resonance liberation, then you want to level up her skill, and lastly, you have her basic attacks in her intro. Which brings us to her teams, where she's mainly looking for a Spectral Frazzle support, leaving you with two options, the first choice being Phoebe. This is due to the fact that she can quickly fill up her second bar by just simply casting her resonance liberation and doing two heavy attacks, which takes a couple seconds of fill time. Then we have Spectro Rover, to where she's not able to fully charge Zani's second bar. Due to this, you need to slightly alter the rotation a bit so that way Zani can help fill up the bar as well. And you also need to rely on some of the skill counters in her Super Saiyan form so that way you can output the most damage possible. Then when it comes to healers, ideally you want to use Shorekeeper, of course using Rejuvenating Set, with the boss echo being Fallacy of No Return, or you can use Verena, using the same echo set. Which brings us to her sequences. Sequence 1 is one of her strongest sequences, to where it greatly increases her spectro damage and gives a bit of quality of life, allowing for about a 20% damage increase. Sequence 2 increases her crit rate and also gives her a little bit more damage, but again, it's pretty easy to over crit with her, so this one's about a 16% damage increase. Sequence 3 increases the damage you do in her Super Saiyan mode, giving you about a 12% damage increase. Sequence 4 increases everyone's attack on the team, giving you about 11% increase. Sequence 5 increases the initial hit when entering her Super Saiyan form, so that's about a 5% increase. And Sequence 6 is a massive increase, basically like having another Phoebe on your team. So now let's go ahead and do a simple rotation using Phoebe and Shorekeeper as teammates. So you want to start out by using Zani's skill into a basic attack, and then you want to do Shorekeeper's rotation, consisting of basic attacks into her skill, echo, and finally liberation. You want to intro into Phoebe, and then you want to hold her skill, and then you want to cast the skill into her liberation. Then you want to do a basic attack 3 into a hold attack 2 times. Cast her echo and intro into Zani. Do a basic attack and then cast her enhanced skill into her echo and then cast her liberation. Do her basic attack 3 combo 2 times and then finally cast her enhanced liberation. Cast her skill and do a basic attack and then intro into Shorekeeper. And then simply repeat the rotation. Let's go ahead and take a look at the rotation using Spectro Rover instead of Phoebe. So you want to use Zani's skill and then do a basic attack, and then you want to switch to Rover and do a heavy attack into 3 basic attacks. Cast her skill and then you want to switch to Shorekeeper. Then you just simply do the Shorekeeper rotation consisting of basic attacks until eventually you cast her skill, echo, and finally her liberation. Then you intro into Rover, cast her liberation, then her skill, and then you cast her echo, and then you intro into Zani and cast a basic attack. Activate her enhanced skill, her echo, and then cast her liberation. Then you want to hold the skill button 2 times so hopefully you can get the counter, ending it with 3 basic attacks into her enhanced liberation. Cast a skill into a basic attack, and then you intro into Shorekeeper. Switch to Rover and cast her skill, then switch back to Shorekeeper and do her rotation, and then simply repeat. So Zani is a very powerful character, but there are a few recommendations that I want to suggest. If you're going for Zani, I do recommend that you try to get 1 copy of Phoebe because it massively increases her damage. Not only does it fill her bars much faster, but it also increases the damage that she does. After that, you can consider getting her weapon, especially if you have some of the other limited 5-star weapons. And then if you really want to, you can start going for some of those sequences. But with that, you should know everything that you need to know before you roll. So, are you rolling for Zani? Are you waiting for some of those future characters? But other than that, I'll talk with you guys later.